Hey there everybody, welcome back to yet another HHN 2025 speculation update. Welcome back. We have a brand new speculation map just out by HHN Nightmares. A lot of construction going on around the park that seemingly confirms a lot of the properties that we can expect to see at Halloween Horror Nights this year. A whole lot of things to talk about in regards to HHN 2025. So without wasting any more time, let's just go ahead and get right into it, shall we? To begin, we do have a new speculation map out from HHN Nightmares. A lot of the stuff on this most recent speculation map is stuff that has carried over from the last two speculation maps, which just kind of goes to show that a lot of stuff that we have been hearing over time, pretty much that's the stuff we can expect to see at HHN, has kind of been solidified at this point. And then with the rampant rate of construction, with a lot of the facades now being constructed out in the park, and those being pretty much out in clear view, it seemingly confirms a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about previously. So we're just going to go ahead and run through some of the ones that we pretty much already have a basis on and have expected to see at the event. And again, with this speculation map, it just seemingly all but confirms them coming to Halloween Horror Nights. First up, starting up over on the H-Lodge sets, these are two properties that we have seen construction for. We've seen the facades kind of start to take shape, and we've heard that these properties will be back to the event. And again, with the facades in the construction phase right now, it just seemingly kind of almost at this point confirms it coming to the event. First of those would be tent number 1, which would be Poltergeist. Now, Poltergeist is one that, again, we've talked about over the last two speculation maps that would be coming to Halloween Horror Nights. By the looks of construction, the facade for that maze does appear to confirm that Poltergeist will be coming back. It looks like the same facade from the Poltergeist house back in 2018, which is the Freeling house from the film. Again, this is one that could be pretty cool just to see how they elaborate on that. The 2018 maze, in my opinion, was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. We haven't seen it in a while, so I don't mind seeing it come back with a couple updates. If they do update it, there is some room for improvement, I think, with that maze. So I think that would be one that would be very interesting to see actually come back to Halloween Horror Nights. Also on the T-pad, we have the other maze, which again, the facade has kind of given away that this might be coming to the event. And this is one that we've been talking about pretty much since we started making speculation videos. It was one of the hottest properties that we've talked about and one of the most prevalent, and that is Terrifier. Now, Terrifier, again, on the speculation map, here it has the same hint from the last two maps, which is the trash bags, which is, of course, where Art the Clown carries all his weapons. By the look of construction on this maze, the facade actually looks to be taking shape. It actually looks to be the Terrifier, which is the attraction that Sienna goes into during Terrifier 2, which is a really good choice, honestly, for the facade. If we were able to do this maze, I think that would have been the perfect choice for the facade. So again, that kind of just confirms that Terrifier will be coming to Halloween Horror Nights. I honestly do believe that this actually might be the first announcement that we get for HHN. I do think that we can expect it in a couple weeks, actually. You know, there's been some teasers on Twitter and stuff, on the Halloween Horror Nights Twitter. So again, that kind of just confirms that Terrifier will be coming to Halloween Horror Nights. I honestly do believe that this actually might be the first announcement that we get for HHN. I do think that we can expect it in a couple weeks, actually. You know, there's been some teasers on Twitter and stuff on saying something about like Mayhem. We can expect announcements soon. Just in the park recently this week, Universal Orlando actually put out some of the preview merch for Halloween Horror Nights. The slogan, "Never Go Alone," is coming back. And the whole logo of it just kind of has like this kind of like rustic Scarecrow kind of vibe to it, which again we'll talk about a little bit later with how that relates to Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood. But this is one of those properties that I think is going to be one of the biggest properties of the year, and one that will pretty much start the hype train for Halloween Horror Nights. So I do see this being announced first, and probably soon, I would assume. Probably soon, just again, given how fast the construction is going on this. So I think it's going to be announced pretty soon, I would say. Moving along to the UVE venue, based on this speculation map, it now looks like Fallout is going to be the maze that gets located in there. We have heard rumors of Fallout coming to Halloween Horror Nights for a very long time now as well, too. We've had hints to this on the speculation map again, which is that little thumbs up thing from the Fallout logo. And the location of this maze has kind of changed around pretty much. Originally, you thought this was going to be the maze that's located over on Soundstage 15, but based on the speculation map, that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be like it's going to be located in the UVE venue. Only thing with this is how we were talking about during our last construction update is it just remains to see how fast that turnaround is going to be from FanFest nights over to Halloween Horror Nights. The UVE venue is currently being used for FanFest nights. It's housing the Star Trek attraction, so it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround, I would say, to have that taken down and then Fallout constructed in that venue itself. I think that's a good choice overall for Fallout. There is a lot they could do with that venue, and I think it just fits the property. Again, this is one that we've heard about being a possibility to come to the event multiple times, and with every day, with every new speculation map, it just seems more and more likely that this will be one of the properties for Halloween Horror Nights this year. Also on the upper lot, another maze that has started construction already over in the Parisian Courtyard. The rumor for this is going to be a sequel to Monstros, so it's going to be Monstros 3, What we're hearing right now is that this could be a maze based on the Isle of Dolls myth. That is what we talked about on the last speculation video. But again, just based off what the facade looks like, it seems to be very similar to the facade from the last two monstrous houses. And we would assume it's probably the same thing, just a different part of the cemetery where the facade is located in for this story. And it just makes sense, like we said overall, that this would be coming back. It'd be pretty nice to close out the trilogy. The speculation map, the construction, again, just seems to confirm that. It's one that we've been talking about for a very long time. One of the first ones that we actually talked about coming back to Halloween Horror Nights this year. And again, like with Fallout, this just does seem very likely to be one of the properties that comes to Halloween Horror Nights. Over on the T-pad, Scarecrow is now the maze that seems to be located there. This is confirmed by the speculation map and again by the construction that's going on in the park. The facade in that maze is pretty much the one that's the most further along, I would say. And it is essentially the same facade as the Scarecrow maze that we had back for HHN 2021. Now this is one again that we've been talking about for a long time. Now if you look at the HHN logo that was just released with the whole Scarecrow kind of theme, it does really fit with that whole narrative of Scarecrow coming back. From the looks of it, it does look like this is going to be pretty much the same maze from HHN 2021 and not a sequel, as some people were thinking that it could be. It's going to be the same maze. It's back in a different location. Personally, it was one of my favorite mazes. I think it was probably the best maze of HHN 2021. So I'm excited to see it back. 2021 was a year I didn't get to go to Halloween Horror Nights quite as much. So I'm going to be very excited to be able to check this maze out a couple more times. But yeah, it seems like Scarecrow, again, is one of those mazes that is all but confirmed to come to Halloween Horror Nights this year. And yeah, it's going to be located over on the T-pad sets. Neighboring this maze over on Soundstage 15, this now seems to be occupied by Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's, again, a property we've been talking about for the last couple speculation maps. The hint on the map being the security camera, which obviously hints into FNAF as a whole. This is one that, again, I'm just very interested to see how FanFest Nights will affect. I think it's a wise choice to set this inside the soundstage. I do probably think it'll probably be the biggest maze of the year, the most popular, and if they do end up doing like animatronics or anything like that, it would really need that big space over in the soundstage. So I think it's pretty wise to locate that maze in the soundstage, Soundstage 15, the biggest venue pretty much of Halloween Horror Nights. And yeah, I mean, FNAF coming to Halloween Horror Nights is something that we've been speculating really since last year. Everybody thought this was going to happen last year at HHN. It didn't. It looks like it is going to happen this year. It makes sense with the new film coming out in December. There's a little bit of tie-in there. We can probably expect to see a trailer for the film around October, around like Halloween Horror Nights time, something they can promote pretty much. And it is going to be a big crowd pleaser, I think. FNAF is a really big popular franchise, especially with a lot of the younger horror fans. So I do think this is going to be one of the big draws for Halloween Horror Nights. And in my opinion, probably the main marketing pinpoint, I would say, for the year. Moving along, one of the most interesting choices for this year, it looks like Soundstage 12 is actually not going to be used for Halloween Horror Nights, but on the contrary, the Jurassic World Overflow queue will, where we used to do mazes back before Jurassic Park became Jurassic World. There's that little overflow queue area, which is that little tented area where you walked through last year to get to Soundstage 12. So it looks like the soundstage won't be used this year, and on the contrary, we'll be using that space, which I think is pretty cool. I honestly don't mind that. A lot of the properties that we featured back in the early days, back in the Jurassic Park queue line, were really, really good, honestly. We had Alice Cooper Welcome to My Nightmare there in 2011, Halloween 2 in 2016. Some of the best mazes to feature at Halloween Horror Nights have featured in that location. I think it's a pretty good location overall, and just given how we use sound stages, we don't really use them to the full extent like Orlando does. Something like Universal Monsters Bloodlines, which was there last year, really had no use in being in a soundstage. I mean, it was cool to see that soundstage overall just because of the history and all that, but it really had no point. This was a maze that was located in a tent. I think it would be no different. The sets didn't really warrant it being in a soundstage, so I would say this is a good change overall, in my opinion. I don't really mind it. But the maze that's rumored to be in here, it actually looks like it's going to be that rumored WWE maze that we've been talking about for a while now as well too. On the speculation map, it looks like the hint for this, it's a ring with a coffin in the middle. So this is actually kind of interesting. So this actually kind of hints at the idea of like The Undertaker coming back to Halloween Horror Nights. Now when it comes to WWE, originally we were talking about it being a maze based on the Wyatt Six, Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt Six. But those are really characters that aren't featured too often in WWE. Especially now, they haven't really featured on WWE quite a lot. So from the rumor of this now, it seems like this is going to be WWE superstars overall. So like a lot of those horror-centric WWE superstars. So I would imagine we probably will still see Bray Wyatt, maybe some of the Wyatt Six, but they won't be the focus of the house, with characters such as The Undertaker, Kane, a lot of those other horror-based characters, Mankind, a lot of those still to kind of all feature together in this house, which would be pretty cool. I mean, I'm not a fan of WWE myself personally, but just for history reasons, I think this is a pretty cool idea, given that we did have an Undertaker mace back in one of the 90s events for Halloween Horror Nights, which I always thought was a very interesting choice. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with it overall. It's going to be more of like an original maze, I would say, since again, I don't watch WWE, but I'm interested in it. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. And the facade looks pretty massive, so it's just going to be interesting to see how it turns out overall. The newest rumor, which is the mace over in the Mummy venue, which is the one property we didn't know anything about for a while. It was listed as unknown under the speculation map for several iterations. There was a hint to something that could come to Halloween Horror Nights that was located on many of the Orlando speculation maps that wasn't translating over to the Hollywood one, but now it looks like it is. And so the rumor for that is that Friday the 13th will be coming to Halloween Horror Nights, and it will be located over on the Mummy tent. Now, Friday the 13th is a property that has been rumored to come to Orlando for, I believe, the last two editions of the speculation map, but like we were saying, it wasn't rumored to come to Hollywood, which I thought was always interesting, given how big of a property Friday the 13th is. It would be interesting to have that just in Orlando, not in Hollywood. To me, personally, it didn't make sense, and that seems to be the case, as this is now rumored to come to Hollywood as well. Friday the 13th is an interesting property overall, especially in recent years, given a lot of the legal challenges and legal battles that have been going the Friday the 13th franchise, with the rights issues being disputed between some of the creators on who gets what. There was a big legal battle over the name itself, Friday the 13th, and the rights of the first film versus the rights of all the sequels, which includes obviously Jason Voorhees and a lot of those very memorable characters. So there was pretty much a lot of that going on behind the scenes, and it's one of the reasons why we haven't gotten a Friday the 13th film in such a long time. But as of recent, it looks like those legal battles have actually been cleared out. So the new current holders of the Friday the 13th franchise, a kind of conglomerate of sorts called the Jason Universe, actually recently, per Bloody Disgusting, revealed a brand new design for Jason Voorhees that was actually done by Greg Nicotero, which is a very big special makeup effects artist who has worked on various stuff for Halloween Horror Nights, most notably The Walking Dead. He's done a lot of big films, you know, From Dusk Till Dawn, obviously The Walking Dead, a lot of the early Romero zombie films, so he's a very notable name in horror. But he did a redesign for Jason Voorhees, and what the article says about that is very interesting overall and kind of connects to it being at Halloween Horror Nights. In the article, it says that the Jason universe stated that this new version of Jason is set to leave movies, gaming, immersive experiences, collectibles, and more. So just with the mention of immersive experiences, that makes me think of like what else they could do. You know, haunts is obviously a big one. You know, so Jason Voorhees coming to Halloween Horror Nights just makes sense, especially if they use this redesign. It'd be kind of a way to getting the character out there again after all these long years with the legal battle. You know, what other way to reintroduce Jason in this new design than in person at Halloween Horror Nights, one of the biggest Halloween events in the country, one of the biggest names in horror. When it comes to haunt immersive experiences, it just makes perfect sense. Recently, also, Peacock is working on a Camp Crystal Lake television series, which is led by Linda Cardellini, who is actually going to be playing Pamela Voorhees, which I think is really cool. This won't be out until next year, but this is something that could have a trailer by the time Halloween Horror Nights starts, so it could be something to promote. It's a nice tie-in, like I said. It just makes sense overall to tie this in, even if this is coming out next year, just to have Jason fresh in people's minds, fresh in people's memories. It would make a big scene overall just to have him back at Halloween Horror Nights. On the speculation map, the hint for this is a campfire, which again alludes to the idea of Camp Crystal Lake. So it would be one that's interesting. Again, marketing wise, it does make a lot of sense. I personally would love to see him back at the event. We haven't seen Jason back at Halloween Horror Nights in quite a while. We haven't had a standalone Friday the 13th house since HHN 2010, so it's been quite a while, honestly, and I think it would be a good choice overall, and we'll just add a little bit more of that old school Halloween Horror Nights feel to the event, which is something that has been really missing for me personally. So I would be very excited to see this come back. And with that, that rounds off the mazes for HHN 2025. We also do have a hint at the Tram. So on the Tram, it looks like the hint is a little house, which looks very similar to the Blumhouse logo, very similar to the hint we had last. For Tram, enter the Blumhouse, so it does seem like that might come back. You know, it makes sense to have that come back, have it updated with a lot of the most recent Blumhouse releases. You know, like I said, we are getting Megan 2.0, which is probably going to be a really big film, I would say. Probably one of their biggest films for Blumhouse this year. The Black Phone 2 is also supposed to come out sometime this year, which again will be another really big one for them. Makes sense to bring all those back. Maybe incorporate some of the newer Blumhouse stuff that's been coming out this year as well, too. There's a lot you can work on with Blumhouse, and I think overall, just like last year with the Tram, it made a lot more sense. Phantom Maze overall. I really like the way that they use the space. I like the way that they kind of upgraded the tram itself a little bit, so I'm not totally mad that this is coming back. There is some stuff they could do that could be a little bit different. They could actually incorporate the Wolfman this year, which is something they were supposed to incorporate last year, but didn't seem to happen. I could see that being one of the characters that pops out this year as well too. This will be interesting if it does come back. I just want to see how much they are going to reuse and how much stuff is going to be new. There's obviously some stuff that they will reuse, like we're talking about, Megan, the Black Phone. I would imagine the Purge will probably come back to the War of the World sets as well too. But everything else is pretty much fair game, and it remains to see again how much new stuff we get with this Terra Tram. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that we've heard brand new speculation wise for HHN 2025. This kind of gives us a little bit more of a clearer look at the lineup overall. A lot of these properties again is stuff that we've been talking about month after month.